No one was meant to hear it. Not the eunuchs patrolling the gilded corridors, nor the concubines dreaming of favor in their perfumed chambers. Certainly not the Sultan, lost in the sweet haze of opium or the relentless weight of empire. Within the harem's oppressive opulence, where every breath is a potential lie, where the very air shimmers with unvoiced desires and hidden cruelties, silence is both a shield and a weapon. Yet, a sound was made. A gasp, swallowed whole. A sudden, violent tremor beneath the heavy embroidered velvets. Then, a muffled choke, swiftly, brutally, smothered. The heavy, silk pillows, meant for dreams of glory, became instruments of absolute silence. A life, perhaps a fragile hope, certainly a dangerous secret, ceased to be. The air, thick with the scent of jasmine and impending doom, seemed to hold its breath, sealing the chamber's grim secret. And then, the light, unforgiving even in the dimness of the chamber, found it. A glint of gold, sharp and unyielding, against the deepest, most vibrant crimson silks. A golden dagger, ornate and cruel, lying forgotten amidst the wreckage of a moment. A stark, undeniable truth left for any who dared to look. From the darkest corner of the room, a shadow among shadows, one woman stood. Her face, a mask of unmoving marble, held the weight of an eternity. She had witnessed everything. The swift, brutal end, the casual discard of the weapon, the chilling lack of remorse. And in that frozen instant, something shifted within her. A fragile cord of trust, perhaps a lingering hope for justice, was not merely strained, it was utterly, irrevocably severed. Have you ever truly looked into the eyes of a woman who has seen the thread of her world unravel? It is a gaze that burns with a cold fire. A gaze that holds not shock, nor fear, but an absolute, terrifying comprehension. That look, my dear observer, was not just a reaction to an act of cruelty. It was a vow, a silent, potent promise of eternal revenge. This was not merely another intrigue, another fleeting battle in the endless game of queens. No, this was a sentence, a judgment delivered not with the Sultan's seal, but whispered in the profound depths of a wounded soul. A destiny forged in blood and betrayal. It was the precise, chilling moment when a new path was chosen, a path that would lead through the heart of the dynasty itself. The very foundations of the bloodline would tremble. For some poisons, you see, are not delivered in a cup, but nurtured in the heart, slow and sure, until they consume everything. This was the beginning of silence. But oh, the noise it would make. Look closely, my dears, at the gilded cage, at the dizzying heights of power, where even the air shimmers with opulence and danger. This is where her story truly began, not in the dusty annals of history, but in the soft, deceptive glow of 1,000 palace lamps. She was young then, yes, and radiant. Her laughter, a melody echoing through chambers draped in crimson silk, a sound so pure it seemed impossible for the shadows to ever touch it. She moved through those lavish halls, a vision woven from the finest fabrics, her innocence a fragile jewel amidst the court's relentless ambition. Feasts, endless and extravagant, laid before her like offerings to a goddess. Spices from distant lands, wines that tasted of forgotten suns, and the constant murmur of admiration. She believed in the promises whispered to her under the starlit dome of the Sultan's private pavilion. Words spun from the thin, shimmering threads of pure silk. Promises of a shared future, of a bloodline that would endure, a dynasty carved from their intertwined destinies. She saw only the golden facade, felt only the warmth of his gaze, the reassuring weight of his hand. It was an embrace, yes, but one that held the latent power to crush. But beneath that dazzling surface, even then, the subtle chill began to seep in. A knowing glance from a rival consort, a whispered word that faded too quickly into the rustle of brocade, the sudden, unsettling silence in a crowded room. The poison, silent and insidious, was already brewing in the chalices of power, unseen by her unburdened heart. It waited, patient as a viper in the folds of a nobleman's robe, for the opportune moment to strike. And then it happened. Not with a shout, not with the clash of steel, but with a gesture so deceptively simple, so quiet, it could be missed by any but the soul it was meant to shatter. After a night of endless celebration, of vows reiterated beneath the approving eyes of the court, he turned. Distracted, perhaps, or simply uncaring. A handkerchief, finest silk, embroidered with her personal emblem, slipped from his careless hand. It fluttered, a brief, silent confession of indifference before landing on the cold, unforgiving marble floor. A forgotten promise, a bond, ripped as cleanly as torn silk. The sound it made, or rather, the lack of it, was a deafening roar in her soul. It was not the loss of love that broke her, my dears, but the realization of betrayal. Not a grand, theatrical treachery, but the casual discard of her very essence, her honor, her future. Her heart, then, did not shatter. No, it forged itself anew in the searing heat of that raw humiliation. It became steel, tempered by the fire of offense, cloaked in the shadow of unspoken promises. And she, the woman who once laughed so freely, retreated, not in defeat, but in silence, into the depths of the palace's memory, where revenge, intricate and precise, begins its slow, relentless bloom. The moon waxed and waned, its silver light painting new patterns on ancient stones. Cycles turned, like hidden gears, yet the wound, it never truly healed. It hardened into a scar, a knot of memory beneath the silk of her skin, each fiber remembering the burn, the cut, the shattering. Years passed, not as oblivion, but as silent sentinels, marking time, deepening the indelible stain upon her soul. No longer the broken girl, cowering in the deepest shadows of despair, a victim. She became the shadow itself, an unseen current in the opulent, echoing halls, a whisper in the suffocating silence. Vengeance, you see, is not always the sudden flash of a blade, a raw outburst. Sometimes, my friends, it is a patient, predatory spider, spinning its web thread by meticulous, invisible thread. Her mind, once a tempest of grief, sharpened to a diamond's ruthless edge, reflecting every flicker of ambition, every tremor of fear within these gilded cages. She moved with unnerving grace, a predatory stillness that belied the storm raging, cold and controlled within her. Each word she uttered, carefully chosen, perfectly placed, became a stone in a dam, diverting power. Or perhaps a single, insidious grain of poison in a sweet, deceptively innocent wine, offered with a smile. Every gesture, a demure bow, a flutter of lashes, a delicate touch, was a hidden signal, a subtle shift in the tectonic plates of power. Did you feel it then? That faint, imperceptible tremor beneath your feet, even as musicians played and courtiers laughed away their fleeting days? That was her. A ripple from the epicenter of her quiet malice. Watch her hands now, slim, elegant, tracing the intricate, time-worn design of an ancient, gilded seal. The emblem of a trusted house, a covenant forged in fire, perhaps even the indelible mark of a noble bloodline. Her gaze, distant yet utterly focused, seeing not just gold, but the history, the power, the vulnerability it represented. And then, with barely perceptible pressure, a faint, silence-shattering crack. The seal splintered, broken, not by brute force, but by a precise, intimate knowledge of its structural weakness. A symbol, my friends, of the trust she shattered from within, of the heart of her enemy she meticulously penetrated, not with steel, but with cunning. She had observed them all. The Sultan, a sun whose capricious light could burn as easily as it could warm, casting shadows of favor and disgrace. His viziers, their loyalties fluid and treacherous as molten gold. The concubines, ambitious and vulnerable, each a potential pawn. The grasping eunuchs, their ears everywhere, their whispers carrying lethal weight. Their vanities, their fears, their secret desires, their hidden shames. All meticulously catalogued, weighed, measured, and filed in the cold archives of her memory. Each weakness became a delicate, unbreakable thread woven into her ever-tightening tapestry of torment. A misplaced word, a whispered rumor, a forgotten debt, all became her silent arsenal. This, you must understand, is the true meaning of betrayal. To use one's perceived strengths, deepest desires, very essence against them. The sprawling palace, with its labyrinthine corridors, hidden chambers, intricate network of power and deceit, was not merely a residence, it was her chessboard. And this, my friends, was not simply a game for a throne, but for the soul, the continuity of a dynasty. The Grand Vizier, a powerful bishop, his influence far-reaching. The Sultan's favorite, a cunning knight, capable of unexpected moves. Even the formidable Valide Sultan, the queen herself, cloaked in centuries of authority, was but a piece in this grand design. And all of them, unknowingly, mere pawns in her grand, unforgiving game for blood and power. Every move calculated, every sacrifice considered, every outcome foreseen. She remembered. And she would ensure they remembered too. The silence would be deafening. The air, thick with the scent of jasmine and the hushed whispers of silk, hung heavy over the Sultan's grand feast. Gilded platters, piled high with candied fruits and spiced meats, gleamed under the torchlight, casting long, dancing shadows that stretched and retracted like hungry beasts across the marble floors. Every face wore a smile, every gesture was practiced elegance. Yet, beneath the veneer of opulence, a different kind of current pulsed, cold, electric, and utterly silent. We, observers from the deepest shadows behind this very pillar, know the truth of these banquets. They are not merely celebrations, they are battlefields disguised in brocade. And tonight, the final move was upon us. Her Highness, radiant in emeralds and pearls, reclined on her cushions. Her laughter, light and airy, carried across the hall, a sound designed to charm, to disarm. But we saw it, didn't we? A faint tremor in the hand that lifted a grape to her lips, a fleeting dart in her eyes that betrayed a deep, restless unease. She was the lioness, yes, but tonight the hunter wore a far more cunning disguise. She had played the game with ruthless skill, carved her path with the sharp edge of ambition, leaving a trail of broken promises and shattered lives. She thought herself invincible, untouchable. And that, my friends, is always the moment of greatest peril. Beside her, a figure of porcelain stillness, a mask sculpted by years of waiting, by the slow burn of an unyielding purpose. Her eyes, dark as polished obsidian, revealed nothing, yet held the weight of 1,000 forgotten debts. Every movement was precise, every breath controlled. She had learned the subtle language of the court, the power of the unspoken word, the devastating force of silence. Her hand, adorned with a simple silver ring, no flamboyant gems for her tonight, reached for a crystal goblet. It contained not wine, but the sweet, cooling sherbet prepared in the private chambers. And as her fingers, steady as a surgeon's, closed around the glass, we felt the tremor, not from her, but from the very air around her. Then, the moment. A delicate smile, a murmured pleasantry, the passing of the goblet. A small, almost imperceptible tilt of the wrist. Was there a glint, a fleeting spark in Her Highness's eyes as she accepted it? A sudden, unbidden chill that cut through the perfumed warmth of the room? Or was it merely the flickering torchlight, playing tricks on our tired, cynical eyes? She drank, slowly. The sweet liquid, the harbinger of a dynasty's quiet unraveling, slid down her throat. For a heartbeat, nothing. The music played on, The murmurs continued. Then, a sudden, almost imperceptible stillness in Her Highness. A slight tightening around her emerald eyes. A whisper of a frown, quickly smoothed away. She tried to dismiss it, to attribute it to a stray spice, a moment of fatigue. But we saw the dawning. The slow, inexorable understanding blooming behind the mask of her regal composure. The sweetness turning to a bitter chill. The realization, cold as grave dust, that the game had not ended with her victory, but merely shifted to a far more dangerous board. The room remained oblivious. The feast continued its languid dance. Yet, for us, peering from the sanctuary of this pillar, the silence in the hall became deafening. It was the silence of a dynasty devouring itself, not with the clash of steel, but with the subtle, insidious decay of a poisoned bloodline. This, my friends, is the true face of power. This is the quiet, devastating art of betrayal. And no one, save for us and the ghosts that haunt these halls, will ever truly know. The blade found its mark, the poison its path. The long night of reckoning has ended. But look closely, my dears. Look beyond the crimson stain on the silk, beyond the stillness that has fallen like a shroud upon this chamber. Is this freedom? Or merely the forging of new chains, unseen, binding her to the very hatred that fueled her ascent? The throne room, once a roaring sea of whispers and ambition, now breathes with a chilling silence. The very air, heavy with the scent of spent ambition and the lingering chill of poison, seems to shudder. Only the dust motes dance in the sliver of light, illuminating phantom battles, forgotten betrayals, etched into the very stones of power. A vast emptiness now resides where the furious heart of a dynasty once beat. A void that whispers of the price paid not just by the fallen, but by the one who orchestrates their demise. Her bloodline stands, yes. Her hold secured, forged in fire and betrayal. But at what cost to the soul that now wears the crown? Observe her now, the woman who never forgot. Her gaze, once a sharpened dagger, is now a distant ocean, vast with an eternal weariness. There is no triumph there, my dears, only the deep, cold understanding of the endless cycle. The unyielding grind of power, the blood that waters the roots of every crown, the shadow that clings to every victory, every whispered silence. In this ruthless game of queens, there are no true victors. Only those who survive, bearing the scars of a tale painted in crimson, and those who pay the ultimate price. The blood on the silk, a vibrant, terrifying calligraphy, is not an ending. It is but a new chapter. A fresh page in a history that, I assure you, will never truly be forgotten.